You are listening to Everyday Mystics with Irma Francis. I treasure the belief that we all have an innate wisdom, and this is our ultimate guide. I invite you to join me as I explore psychospiritual understandings of the everyday mystic, and as we work together to raise the vibrations of love, peace, joy, and freedom. For information about my services, please visit irmafrancis.com. Enjoy this episode of Everyday Mystics. Hi, this is Irma Francis. My guest today is the delightful Virginia Adams, known to her family and friends as Ginger. Our discussion revolves around her book, The Universal Gravity Code, A Guide to Personal and Global Enlightenment. Virginia Adams is a master energy healer, clairvoyant, intuitive mentor, and intuitive artist. I loved your book. Let me just start out by saying what your book is. You're the author of The Universal Gravity Code, A Guide to Personal and Global Enlightenment. Woo!
Title.
Wow. I just was so drawn in by, was that factual information of Isaac Newton?
Who knows? Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
Who knows? Some of it is, there was facts correlated into the story, but the story is whimsical, and it is, but it was an intuitive download. So as I sat in, once I back up a little bit, once I heard or saw in a flash that there was a correlation between the Earth's gravitational pull and grave times, gravity in the sense of grave times, that it had the same laws behind it, the pull. I took that to my contemplative time or meditation time. People call it different, prayer, quiet time. And now I accept, which was really hard for me to say in the beginning, that I really think that Isaac, or somebody who wanted to speak for Isaac, sat with me and just showed me this whimsical story and how it played out. And the story was given. Once the story was given, I saw how that correlated with a lot of writings I had already done or thought out or began. And so the book came from that.
Well, as I was reading it, I was there with Isaac. I was in hook, line, and sinker. It was happening. So it felt like it was part of his real life to me. So I just love that. And I don't know if I interpreted this correctly, and I don't know your exact wording or even what page it was on in your book. But there's a part where it seems like you're saying that the gravity code, part of that is what we are calling gravity, and being, held to the earth by this gravity. Could that be God?
That's
Did I interpret that?
That is, you didn't interpret, it was said at the end. So as I went through this, what is this gravity code? How do we, once, the graveness of it hit me, and how I saw that, it was like, well, how do we release this? And so I was looking for the cure, because I come from Western medicine and an Newtonian thought process. I was looking cause and effect.
Yeah.
And there's got to be a cure. There has to be a pharmaceutical pill for this. There's got to be something out there. energetically, I'm thinking is some modality. There's something out there that will release the code. And as time went on, I was shown. And so the spoiler is that actually this gravity is here for a purpose. And it's just as the Earth's gravitational pull keeps us here, there's a reason we call in gravity. And if we look at the times in our life, we actually, when we need a wake-up call, we call in gravity. We call in the graveness, we call in the heaviness so that we can remember the light. And so that's why when it came to the end, I'm like, this is global enlightenment. Oh my gosh, because this is either on a personal basis or on a collective basis. We call in what's needed as the slap, the wake up, it's time, wake up, wake up, wake up. And I really believe that's what we are going through globally right now. And so as I started writing this book, I had no idea the purpose of the book. This started in 2017, 2018, somewhere in there is when the whole thing was formulating. And I had even submitted the book, a book proposal to a publishing company thinking that, yeah, they're going to want my book and they're going to pay me for it and they're going to just fix it and do it. And that wasn't the way it went.
So, just go straight to Hay House. Right. And maybe you will. Maybe we'll see you there.
Who knows the purpose beyond all, we right. Get to find that in hindsight. But the beauty of it is that it's timing. It knew when it needed to come, and it was born, came into this world in November of 2020. And it couldn't have been in my lifetime, who knows, in my lifetime up until now, it couldn't have been a more appropriate time, both for me personally and for the world. We were in lockdown. We were understanding the gravity and what, for me personally, the beauty of gravity, the beauty of the lockdown, the beauty of the quiet, get quiet, come back to you, all of that. So when I saw, again, hindsight, when I saw that, I'm like, oh, another crazy, I'll just keep rolling if you want me to.
Keep rolling.
All of a sudden it's going, there was another number. So as I was writing the whimsical story, again, it was just, when I write, it's I see in my ideas or flickers come through, and then I sit at my computer, and some people do pen to paper, but I'm this, and it just rolls, and it goes really, 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 really fast, and the ideas pop in. And when I was writing the story, there's a mention of how many years before the Seal of Tau, which I didn't even know what a Seal of Tau was, and but that came through, and would be open in 353 years. And I'm like, well, that's an interesting number. So I I just thought, this is a whimsical story, go with it. It's just a story. This is, pretend. And when I finally looked at it, it was 350 years to the date. It would have been December of 2019, which is when our lovely virus of fear hit.
Virus of fear, yeah.
Fit planet Earth. And so again, I truly believe it was, again, I'm getting those, I have a naughty name for it. It's like I get these as I speak, and which is, to me, God sense, but I call it like a cosmic orgasm. It's like
I'm familiar with those. Yeah.
So, saying this, I'm like, ooh. So I realized that, oh my gosh, there was timing and purpose behind it, and how humbling and beautiful is that me just allowing and listening to some garble in my head that some people would call insanity or just jibber jabber, that honoring that and pushing through, because it was not an easy task for me. I didn't start out to be a writer, or that wasn't anything that I wouldn't even say interested me. Actually, I'm more of a numbers person. And so I started writing this and allowing it to flow. And even with the mistakes and the grammar and the, oh my gosh, can you do this? But that this beautiful message was to be heard. And it was supposed to be heard 353 years from the time when Sir Isaac Newton walked this earth, which, if it's true or not true, doesn't matter. But there was a time where we as a human race decided that cause and effect was more important than divine intervention. And so we've tried to push our agenda. And it's not the way this illusionary world tries to function in that, but it's starting to dismantle. But our truth is that we weren't supposed to be tethered here through gravity, or we were meant to fly, and we are spirit, and we are intended to do something so different, so different, and we're waking up to that. We're remembering that. So what's enlightenment? It's just waking up. It's remembering. It's going, oh yeah, oh, that's what I was supposed to do, or oh, that feels more authentic, and that feels more me. And that's, so enlightenment sounds huge, like, who are you, the Dalai Lama? Who do you think you are? But enlightenment just means it's time to wake up now, to see who you are. And through writing,
liberation, freedom, maybe from, and I'm sure you've heard the analogy of, going into the cocoon and the process that the caterpillar goes through, and then, having the imaginal cells of the butterfly.
Yeah.
And actually, it's just perfect how that happens. And we're in that same process. I don't know which stage exactly. Are we in the goo with all the imaginal cells of what we will become, or are we partially out of the butterfly, and out of the cocoon? And the thing is, it really is, in some ways, when we're in the cocooning part, an alone journey. Nobody can come and help us out of that. So we've got to, build up our muscles so that when we do break out, we're able to fly. And that's part of all of this, I believe.
And would we want to think it's a once and done, but it's not. There is a secular to it, and there's another layer. There's another cocoon. And then there's another cocoon. Ooh. Because they, until what's complete enlightenment? We have to define what that is. Like complete and total would be that I'd be, actually I'd be sitting with you right now just because I intended that to be. I wouldn't be doing it through Zoom. I would actually be in front of you in whatever form. That's enlightenment. That's completely owning my divinity and my spirit and my essence as spirit. Not to say that I am not doing that right now, but who knows?
Who knows? That's right.
But in the process of getting to that remembrance, because it's a remembrance, it's not that we're doing it or we're fixing it or it's just returning to what we are, to that remembering. So it's already been done. But that cocoon, or the illusion of the cocoon, happens just as gravity to awaken us to the next level of our aha.
Yeah.
Oh, aha. Until, and that's the whole venture, that venture and adventure of, um, of this life, it, there can be joy found in the gravity, which was kind of a hard concept,
Yeah.
really hard concept. There is, joy is not quite the right word, but there is a connection, we're always looking for the connection. We're trying to remember that there isn't a disconnection is probably the better way. So people are always looking for connection. And the only way to remember that there never was a disconnect, there never was the fall of man, the original sin, whatever whatever people call that. In my belief, none of that happened. So it's the remembering, but sometimes that heavy coat of gravity, that heavy coat of pain, discomfort has to envelop us so that we can maybe utter the words, help me, dear God. Whatever it is for you, I can't take it anymore. I need help, somebody, but that internal cry, that unspoken cry that emanates from us in an energetic pulse out. And then we realize, oh, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
And most, I talk in my book about the drunk, you got it. Rock bottom is their salvation. That's their moment of like, woo! Was it fun to get there? Oh my God, no. Did they hurt a lot of people themselves? Mm-hmm. But that was their crack. That was their crack in the cocoon, the crack in sometimes a dinosaur. What am I seeing? I'm seeing like a petrified egg. Sometimes it like takes a chisel, or a chisel from the inside out. But yeah.
Do you have a copy of your book? I don't have the hard copy. I read it. Okay, there it is. Can we hold that up? There it is.
Right. Is there, do I?
Yeah, it's coming up right. Yes, beautiful.
That's my little book. That's my book.
Yeah.
Recently honored with a mention with the International Book Awards. So that was just to be mentioned. Somebody noticed. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Reading the book, even though I would have preferred the hard copy, I couldn't get it on time before we did our interview today. So I read it online, but even reading it online, it was an experience and a healing in itself. So it may look like it's this paper book or however people are going to be reading it. It really is an experience and a healing.
Thank you, Irma. When I show up authentically as me, which is this vibration. So it's not this face or this hair or, this nose, whatever this is. When I show, there is a vibration. And so my vibration is definitely encoded in this book. And that's the healing aspect of me. It's what I use. Well, I won't say use, what I step into when I support others in their healing. And so this book is it is that. I can't read it without getting the like, oh yeah. And because it came from that space, so many people, as they read it, like you said, it is this very experiential healing. It's not for everyone. And I'll be very honest, if you're ready for it, you're ready for it. I've had some people tell me that they had to throw it, across the room because because it does ask you to look, to take a peek inside. it says, look at what are your patterns?
Right.
What is that? And it's okay. Some people aren't quite ready. It's like, I remember the first time reading Eckhart Tolle's book, and everybody in my group was all like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I just like, ah, how could that, now I think of that, oh my God, that beautiful book. How could I, but I didn't like it. So it is, everything that I do is a return to self. And so, the book leads you to a return to self. So if it's not the moment to do that work, then the time will come. The time will come.
Right. I remember many years ago, I was doing some studies of Emma Curtis Hopkins. She's a Christian scientist from 1800, I don't know the exact date, and she actually was a teacher of teachers with Christian science. And when I picked up her first book, I can't even remember the name of the book now. But as I started reading it, it's like, I know this is English, but I don't understand anything I'm reading. Exactly. I don't think I'm going to be able to do this class. I really want my certification, but it may as well be in a language I can't. And so I put it down for a while, did some meditation, did some, things within my own self, and picked it back up. I fell in love with Emma Curtis Hopkins. I understood everything. It was no longer another language to me. It's just bizarre how that can happen.
And that is so true. And that's so, yes. And there's one sweet person that I know that she was one that told me, I had to throw it across the room. And she has since come back to it. So the other thing is as you start this book, just go with it. Just keep going with it. There are meditations throughout the book to help you to get to the place of acceptance and understanding. They're written out in the book. I suggest that people either record it so they hear it themselves, do the meditation back to them, or I do have on my website, I do have the recorded meditations that follow along with the book. That is really an important aspect of this, because it's not a quick read. It's not a power through book, because there is moments of contemplation, and allowing yourself to have those moments it's part of the journey, part of the joy of the book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just want to tie some pieces together in my mind. So when you talk about grave times, right, and you talk about gravity, I never put that together. The grave within gravity. I never did. So the definition of grave or graves, what is that?
So how that came, that correlation to me, was my husband and I were in the kitchen, and we chat about the humans. We just are, how the mind of a human, how we interact. And I said sarcastically, "Oh, the gravity of it all." And there was a eureka moment that just like, it was an intense, it was one of those cosmic orgasms that I was talking about, but more intense than probably most. And I knew that there was this correlation between the idea of the gravity, as in the gravity of all grave times, So grave in the sense of that is that it's heavy, it's oppressive. What are some other words? Those are the ones that come to me. It's just that oppressive, heavy, thick, energetically, it's murky. It's murky waters. It's dark and gloomy. It's, yeah, those are pretty good words. I don't think there's more.
Yes, yes. But it all shifts when you look at it from the perspective, oh, it's all God, including gravity.
Oh, God.
I mean, that takes away all the graveness of it, and the heaviness of it.
Which is the miracle.
That set me free. And the book is like, oh, well, of course.
So that, and some people will call that, you said the word the other day, and so it's really important to bring it up. Some people might want to label that as spiritual bypassing, or because
like it's all God, it's all good.
It's all good.
Be positive.
Pollyanna, woo. Well, I actually really like Pollyanna, and I like rose-colored glasses.
Me too. I've been told to take my rose-colored glasses off, but I kind of,
So in my experience, I have not lived an easy life. I have had my share of grave times, gloomy, doomy, really hard moments, but I would not take any of those away, not a moment. Even the most severe moments, I wouldn't take them away, because they were part of my awakening. They were part of my coming to the place where I can say, it's all God. It's all God. Ooh, as I say that, it brings tears. It's all God. This is all God. And this illusion of this world that wants to tell us that there's a disconnect. It's too heavy. It's too grave. It's there's no hope. We never were disconnected. But the more that story perpetuates, that there was the fall of man, there was the original sin, as that perpetuated, we brought on this grave time, because guess what? Because until we get that it didn't happen, it's going to get graver and graver and graver until we go, okay, I get it. It's all God. So
kind of a soul amnesia.
Yes, absolutely. Soul amnesia, and which is okay. And so, and that's the beauty of it. There's no judgment. If somebody, that's why I say this isn't for everyone, because this is the tickly good nummy. I always say we all get to the mountaintop, and the mountaintop is, there's a million ways to call it right now. There's five-dimensional living, there's awakened state, there's enlightenment, whatever you want to call it. But we all get there because that was where we started. That's who we are. That's in essence, that's spirit. That's who we are.
We're already there.
We're already there. We just have to uncover it. Right. And so that awakening is the uncovering. And so, so there's no judgment, because we're all going to do it. We all have our way. And so, mine has come through, my whatever, my gifts. And so, and that's the other thing, is the more we start to say, and accepting this, then the gifts start to come, and we start awakening to the gifts that this brings. And we start realizing that I am spirit. And if I want to pop over to Irma's house and sit with her, I actually can. Mm-hmm. Now, it might not be in this physicality, this meat suit that I'm wearing, but I absolutely can sit with Irma. Yeah. And I do it as we speak right now. I'm right there with her right now. Mm-hmm. And I can feel her essence. I know, which is, again, the tears flow, because we are also very deeply connected, and it's just remembering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My experience kind of having this why this happened, I don't know. This awakening at a young age of 8 years old, where I understood I was a soul in a physical body. Up to that point, I really didn't identify as a personality self. I was in the Garden of Eden before this experience at 8 years old. And I just received all these downloads after downloads. I mean, how I understood what was happening at 8, it really, because it really isn't of the mind or the intellect. So I had this experience, and naively, I guess, I thought everybody did. I thought everybody knew, like, all this, and slowly but surely I started realizing that may not be true. And then I started writing poetry about these experiences I was having, because I didn't want to forget. And I had an intuitive feeling, if I don't validate myself, I will forget. And so kind of my blessing and curse throughout life was living for a very, very long time, thinking everybody was connected and remembered. Because I don't feel like I ever truly forgot. Doesn't mean my life has been like this piece of cake and I've lived this liberated, enlightened life, not at all. But a big part of that was kind of running into situations with people where it's like, yeah, but why are you, I don't understand it, and just this like wanting to connect with people from this kind of whole place. Like, why are we taking everything so seriously? Like, we could be having a lot of fun and things like that. And I tell you, so many times I was looked at like, yeah, you've got 3 heads right now. What are you talking about? Like, do you need to like get some help? And it took me a long, long time to accept that. And I never judged anybody, from those experiences, but I ended up, as I got older, figuring out that I do need to use discernment. I do need to use discernment as far as who I invite kind of into my inner circle.
Correct.
And kind of to recharge myself from all the confusion that I went through. Like, this is, so I would have this experience and I would say this to people, and I would love to get your take on it. From the experience of soul, and that there is no disconnect. Yes, the soul is in this physical form, but we were never disconnected. We're always connected. So from the experience of soul, when we talk about before life, life, and afterlife, it's all the same. It's all the same. So where does the fear come in? I mean, because a big part of what we try to control is, leaving this physical form, death. But from the soul perspective, before life, life, after life is all this. There is no disconnect or separation. Do you understand what I mean when I say that?
Absolutely. It's the lie. It's the we've been all fed a lie. And it starts as, so the child understands that. They don't know fear until we tell them to be fearful.
Right.
They don't
And the
know.
conditioning starts.
Right. And so Indigenous people don't have fear of death. True Indigenous that haven't been. So it's again, it's we've been fed a lie. And there is no separation. One thing you just said, that as you were talking, is I believe that true healing, like if not, I mean, true healing, healing's healing. It can't be true and fake healing. Healing is healing, but healing comes from seeing others, the world, are in its innate state. So the beauty that you were saying is, as you've been walking your walk here, and when you said, I didn't know that others felt this way or didn't understand this, is that you just saw them in their innate beautiful state. And that's how I truly believe that's how we change the collective. That's how we heal our world, is that we do put on those rose-colored glasses and we remember that the worst of the worst, the most evil thing that we could look at, didn't get disconnected. They just forgot, really forgot. Mm. So they're in that petrified dinosaur egg, but they are still that divine spark of light. Every single one of us, no disconnect anywhere. So beautiful that you got to walk that. And life goes on, and after a while you have to kind of shape, protect yourself, because there is the insanity backlash, like, are you crazy? What is wrong with you? I get that. I get like, oh, there's a gingerism, it's all right, it is what it is. But I get the joy of, not always, I can't say that I'm in this perfect state, but as looking at our leaders, our fear, our things that separate us, as they're just confused. They forgot who they are. I remember.
Yeah, and it can be hard to talk about with people that are in their soul amnesia, because what you just said and how you said it could sound patronizing.
Oh, absolutely. And so for somebody who's suffered a great trauma, be it at the hands of a very disconnected person, or illusionary disconnected person, it is very hard for me to look at them. So for me to say that Hitler was a divine being, could curdle, cause additional pain to someone. How can that be? She doesn't see my pain. She doesn't see what my people suffered. How she's I just got, she's an entitled white woman, whatever it is. But it's by being brave enough to say that I see all of it is God. And being able to speak those words, which is my authentic self speaking, without worry of the backlash, because there is backlash.
Yes.
And they won't want, and so I don't even have to explain this. So I don't say this to everyone. I don't explain this to everyone I sit with. If I'm, it's, as I'm mentoring someone, I wouldn't look at them and say, well, you got to look at your perpetrator as a divine being. I don't say that. But for both of them, both the perpetrator and the victim, I look at them with gentle acceptance, knowing that we're all on this earth. We are just like you just said. There's no difference between beginning, middle, and end. We're all spirit. we're just floating through this. Some of us raised our hands and said, yeah, I'll be the SOB this time. I'll be that perpetrator so that Irma can remember. I'm going to do this for Irma. So I'll be at this time. What do you want to be, Irma? Oh, you want to be the sweet soul that sees everybody with Pollyanna? Okay. And we all did, and so could that be offensive to someone? Yeah, until it's not. There'll be a day when they'll go, and that might be on the deathbed.
Mm.
But there will be a moment when they go, oh, yeah, I remember.
I had this shift, and I don't know exactly when it happened, because I used to want to wake people up. Well, there's an arrogance in that. I think there is.
Yeah.
That's not
No.
That's not nice. to want to wake somebody up. There's a kind of a judgment in there. To try and wake you up means I think you're asleep and I'm awake. And I don't go there, although I used to feel that way. I want everyone to have this oneness experience, this wholeness, this connection, this freedom. I want playmates, for one thing. I did want playmates. But the shift I made was, instead of talking about being awake or what it means to be awake, or even getting into any spiritual talk at all, just showing up and being awake.
Yeah, absolutely.
Period.
That is actually, in my opinion, more transformative than any words that I could ever speak. If I sit with you and I see you in your, beyond anything that's going on with you, but I just see you in spirit, and I just, without any words, and experience you. It's not just see you, it's experience you. It's seeing you with angel eyes, with God's eyes. Then that's all I have to do. I don't ever have to say a word to you. I don't ever have to, and guess what? Awakened, like I said, what is the definition of awakened? I don't think, there's not very many people walking this earth right now that are in full awakened state. We're all doing it. We're all going through the next cocoon. So compassion and love for everyone without having to change anyone's perspective.
Yeah. That's the highest form of unconditional love.
Right.
To recognize we are love and just be that.
Yeah. We are love.
And that's so easy, and you don't have to use your mind or force anything or manipulate anything. But as you were saying what you were just saying, did you ever see the movie Cocoon?
Exactly. I refer to that all the time.
Because I love that one scene in the pool.
Yes.
Where she comes out of her bodysuit. And so, when you show up in this place of unconditional love, you're showing up kind of, it may appear like you're wearing a bodysuit, but you're kind of in that light body. And from this highest place of unconditional love, you're creating safety for the other person to unzip their bodysuit, to call the light body forward. It's safe. It's okay. We're going to be okay.
Absolutely. I get more response, I guess that's the best way, from just being with someone, just in my light suit and just sitting quietly with them. And the healing modality that I use, it's not even a modality. Is just that, just being in a frequency with someone as they unfold. And it is So nummy good. Yeah. It's, I always, I love that you got that hit, because that's how I always explain it. It's like unzip and let's let this, our lightness out. Let's, ooh, and then when that clashes together, it looked really good in that pool, right? When they,
Yeah. I love that scene. In fact, now that I think about it, I may need to get like a poster of that and frame it and put it somewhere, because I just love that scene.
Yeah.
But you know, it's interesting what I just said, that you don't really have to say anything or do anything, you know, for someone that's doing a podcast. But here's my inspiration behind it. And I'd love to get your take on this. It seems to me, and all I know is my own personal experience. I don't know everything about everyone in the whole wide world. I just know my experience. What was I going to say? I just lost my train of thought.
you were talking about choosing to do podcasts after you just said,
Oh, okay. So my inspiration and what it seems to me that empaths, highly sensitive people, intuitives, multisensory people tend to, not always, kind of be on the quiet side and in the background. And it seems to me that they have so much to share. And so that's my inspiration behind this podcast. Is I wanted to create a platform for those people. And not in like, oh, you poor little empath hiding in the corner, let me help you. Not that, no. There's a selfish aspect to this. This is my passion. I love being in this energy. I love talking about, I love sharing what we've been doing here. And it's, to me, inspirational, inspiring, which means to be in spirit. And so this and the conversation we've been having is when I am my most authentic self. When I find a person that kind of gets me and I get them, it's nice. It feels good.
tickly good. Oh my God. It's, oh my, your platforms, you know, everybody talks about platforms right now. You know, do you have a good platform? Do you have in social media? And, you know, there, the ability to express ourselves. So sometimes you know, empaths or highly sensitive really struggle in the expression of self, because self doesn't seem to jive with what the rest of the world says self is. So they are getting information from different, and they're reading energy constantly. They're and knowingly or not know, or you know, they're getting this. They're getting hits and information, and so sometimes it's overwhelming. And even to have a platform to be able to start to express that in a logical and in a, you know, not in a woo-woo like, oh my God, it was so freaky cool, you know, just being able to put words to it, or have a place that they can listen to somebody putting words to something that is actually, you can talk about it and you can express it and you can be heard and you can be with like-minded. So it is a blessing that you did you were given this inspiration to do this, so that I know that it took me forever to be able to, you know, I call it the dichotomy of Ginger. I had two sides to me. I was that very analytic administrator where risk management was, you know, my, and so I mitigated risk constantly. And so a risk was don't talk how you really think or see the world. That was risk management for me. But in that I wasn't truly myself. And so I was out of alignment with or out of integrity. Integrity is a big deal with me, even in the workplace. And so that, working with empaths or highly sensitive, it's such a refreshing to find places where they can align with themselves, to become find integrity within, and they can speak about, really, I navigate this world and I navigate my administrative position that, had a lot of risk intuitively. I did. And so saying that, there's such freedom to that. And so it's so beautiful. And it's not telling people to wake up, or it's not telling people that, oh yeah, we know the secret. Come on over here and I'll tell you the secret. No, it's just, let's be able to express ourselves in the most beautiful, authentic way that we can possibly can. And like you said, giving permission to the next person to say, oh, I heard them talking that way. I'm going to have that conversation. And so wrapping up that thought. So, we both talked about being guarded about who we talk about this with or not. And sometimes there are people in our life that we do have to have this conversation with because, a spouse, a significant other, a child, and that just to help them understand how you navigate the world, and finding words to put to that doesn't sound like, uh-oh, we better call, is so important. And so finding those words that can express that is and enabling people to be able to do that is really important. So they are in alignment, so they feel good, because it doesn't feel good if you're split. If you're, like I said, the dichotomy, if you're split, you don't feel good. You're never in balance. And so it causes depression. It causes anger. It causes anxiety. Because you're not fully you, and you don't feel safe to be you. And so it's a beautiful platform, Irma. It's so beautiful. And I feel very blessed. I have this little thing that reminds me all the time right here, and I just looked down and it says blessed, and I just said, oh, I feel so blessed to be able to express myself in this manner with you. So thank you.
Thank you. And, as you're saying that about, when you were in the medical field, would you?
I ran very large medical practices. I was the administrator to Western medicine medical practices with surgeons, etc. So.
And the dichotomy that you were experiencing and the kind of split. I mean, even though when I was in corporate, I did it in my style, I still understood that there were certain things that would not be accepted there. And that bothered me. And like you said, not being completely in alignment and feeling that dichotomy. And it was majorly important to me because it is tied to integrity, to live what I define as a seamless life. Seamless. There aren't compartments. It's not I'm Irma, this Irma here and this Irma there. I'm the personality they call Irma that happens to be a soul and a body, and that's what I really am. But that's okay. We don't need to go there. We don't need to understand that. I just want to be free and live a seamless life, and somehow I've managed to move towards that. Am I always there? Are there times where I may hesitate to do that? Yeah. But a lot less. Very seldom nowadays.
I have my quiet moments. It depends on the group that I'm with. Sometimes I'm just very quiet. So I am typically very As you can see, bubbly, but there's times that I'm very quiet, and like you said, it's discernment. It's like, yeah, I think I better just be quiet right now.
There's so much. I really hope we get to do this again.
Oh, thank you.
Because there were so many topics I wanted to cover. But maybe because I want to respect your time, and we're at that mark right here. Can we go just a little bit longer?
Sure, I'm good.
This stood out to me, and I was hoping maybe you could expand on it. And I didn't mark the page on this one. Allow, surrender, relinquish. Relinquish, to give up, to give over control willingly. Relinquish power. I don't know this, but it seems like that a lot of people maybe can get to that place of allowing. When we go into surrender, it's like, I'm not sure about that. That sounds like giving up a lot of control. And relinquish? What? Okay. So
when things come through to me, they come through in very different ways. And I am kind of whimsical and silly in a lot of my art. And what happened with these is they came through as characters. So kind of, in my book, I talk about them. So we have allow, and allow is just the polite lady.
Yeah, she's in your book.
Yeah, so she's just a polite, and she allows, and she's just very okay. And
that's your art?
Yes.
You did that?
So she just gives permission, She's like, all right, I'll allow that. It's fine. She has her cute little hat on. And so it's that external display of submission and loving kindness. It's just like that external, like, oh, Irma, I'll allow you to talk to me about the book. It's fine. And then surrender comes, and she's, to me, kind of like the inner child. She's a warrior. So she is the warrior inner child. That's who she is. And she's got a little character to her. She's like, sometimes I see my inner child with her fists like this. She gets kind of like, and but what that is, it's about letting go of control. Well, for someone who has gone through a trauma where somebody took their control from them, be it sexual abuse, etc., that's a hard thing to hear. But what that means is, and I'm going to read what I wrote, is surrender is the conqueror of the illusion of the need to control. So she comes in to show you that controlling is an illusion. We've never had complete control. Mm-hmm. Because if we're free flowing and we're divine, there wasn't anything to control. Mm-hmm. Surrender is the embodiment and the commingling of both aspects of self, the light and the shadow. So when we try to control out the shadow, okay, shadow, you stay over there. Nope. Then again, we're in this dichotomy. We're in this misalignment with self, because we are both. We are light and we are dark. We are both. And so the shadow, just as the gravity, is how we see our light. And so this little warrior inner child, she relinquishes, and not relinquishes, she surrenders and says, all right, I give. I know shadow's part of who I am. It's going to be there, but shadow just helps me see the light. It shows me my reflection on the ground. I know what shadow is. Okay. And then relinquish. Relinquish is the crone. She's the wise woman. See if I get it without the
yeah, there.
There.
Yeah.
So she's, it's hard to see, but her hair becomes the universe. It has the stars. It's the all-knowing. And she's the wise, all-encompassing crone. And she accepts that all outcomes All unknown outcomes are good. All outcome, good, bad, it's all God. So relinquish, when we relinquish to the idea, and this brings us back to the very beginning of our conversation, is the obedient servant of unconditional love. Relinquish is the embracing of the deep knowing that all outcomes are in perfect order with the all that is. And the remembrance that we are the omniverse. Omniverse is what I call the universe because it's not uni, it's omni. And so relinquishing to that idea that in the end, it's all okay. In the end, all outcomes are perfect. It's all divinely, it's all God.
And that's releasing of all control.
All control.
That is enlightenment. That is liberation.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's that in relinquish, when that word came through, and again, this book goes through each one of those, and it is it's a moment, and it's a journey, because it's not something that we relinquish and then we're all done, but we come back to it. So as life brings its gravity, as life brings its little, messiness, and sometimes those outcomes seem, a loss of a child, something that just is, we can't even imagine. Not that we don't feel the pain, which we should feel the pain. So that would be spiritual bypassing. If you said, don't feel it, it's all good. No, we feel it. We see the shadow. We grab onto the shadow and we say, oh, and I'm angry at this, and I'm hurt by this, and I'm suffering, but in the end, we truly know that there's no difference, like Irma said, from the beginning to the middle to the end. We're all going to go through this. And in the end, it was like, oh, wow, that was fun. Let's do it again. And then we,
circular. So, and in that circle, there is no disconnect. There isn't.
Never could be. There never could have been. And so it's a lie. It is the ultimate lie, is that we were disconnected.
Yeah. And the thing that, can happen from that is, but the sad thing about, not understanding that there never was a separation, that it's circular and there is no disconnect. What can happen is you miss your life. You live a life based on programming and conditioning alone.
Yes.
And so you miss the full experience, because to me, I've never thought of enlightenment or liberation as leaving the body and transcending it. I think of it more as it coming completely together. So then if we're moving out of cause and effect, what are we moving into?
That's such a good question, because what's the opposite or the antithesis of? It's just this free flow. It's not.
Maybe it would be moving into cause, period.
Just plays cause, yeah. Yeah, maybe. I don't even know if I answered that question in the book.
I don't think it is in there, but you said that at the beginning of our talk here, and I made a mental note. It's like, okay, and I can see that's how we learn.
We're always looking for a fix. Our society and everything that we do is about the fix. And be it through pharmaceuticals, be it through even energy healing or whatever. It's always about that cause and effect, you did this, so we got to do that. This happens, so, or I'm going to take this to get the effect of that. There's always this.
Like a manipulation almost at
It's,
times.
it's the ooh, what's the opposite? What is it? It's relinquishment. All outcomes are perfect.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Oh. Well, that's it, folks. I mean, that's it.
Thank you for listening to Everyday Mystics. From all the love in my heart to all the love in yours.